radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Welcome, Fade to Black is Spoke Radio for the masses. Yeah, man. It's Monday, October 24th, 2022. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer, and UNX Networks. Praise Hobbs. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? All right. Tonight, so excited. Lee Spiegel joins us for Halloween night 4. That's right. Tomorrow night, Dan Terry is with us for the first time. Really excited about that as well. That's tomorrow night for night 5. Wednesday night is the return of Shaw, the Loon Witch. That's right. For our annual Halloween special, I don't know. I think this is year number 9. One of you Fadernauts can go out there and do the count for me, but I think it's 8 or 9, and I think it could be 9. Shaw is back Wednesday night. She'll be doing your readings back to back phone calls, and you know how we do it. And so that's going to go down on Wednesday night. And Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. All right. Yes. My eyes are tired. And let me tell you something. You know what I don't like about wearing glasses during the show? They squeak when I move. They on the things. I can hear. Oh, well. Eyes are tired. They're tired. I need sleep, man. I need sleep. But you know what? Sleep is for sissies. So I'll get caught up on sleep finally for the first time this weekend, something I haven't done in a very long time. But until then, coming up this February 10th through the 13th, I will be emceeing and hosting the Conscious Life Expo once again this year. And tickets and info are available right below us. You can click on the links and get over there, look at the amazing list of speakers, and get your tickets and start plotting out your weekend at the LAX Hilton. And then, let me see here if I do the math right. I think it's about 2 weeks later on Saturday, April 1st, 2023, I will also be emceeing and hosting the Parapod Festival at the Hyatt Regency here in Valencia, California. This is a live one-day podcast awards, film festival, and media event, all going down on one day. Now, here's the deal. You could submit your podcast, your TV series, your film, your documentary, whatever you've got. You can submit it now. Click on the link, parapodfilmfest.com, and get your submissions in. All of the categories are there. Go and check them out. And if you've done anything, paranormal, supernatural, UFOs, conspiracy, all that stuff, Bigfoot, you could submit your work right now at parapodfilmfest.com. Get it done. Maybe you'll get an award. That's right. So come and hang out with us. That is April 1st, Saturday, April 1st, 2023, in Valencia, California. And then coming up a week after that, April 7th through the 14th, 2023, I will also be hosting and presenting on the Hidden Secrets Seminar at Sea Cruise. I know you want to go on a cruise with me. Don't you want to do that? Go from L.A., Los Angeles, and we're going to go all the way down the coast into Mexico, turn around and come back. All right. Now, that is April 7th through the 14th, 2023. The links for the cruise are below. All right. We'll see you there. A lot of Fadernauts have already reached out and said they're going. I can't wait to hang out with all of you. And then coming up this Monday, a week from today, is the first anniversary of the UNX network. And we are going to do a full night originating from here in the bunker, anniversary special. And it's my co-host, of course, are Race Hobbs and Margie K. If you go over to the unxnetwork.com, you can see some of the speakers and our guests that are going to be on the show, some of the events that we're going to be doing. We're going to be going out and do some ghost hunting at a couple of locations. I think maybe even 3 locations. And we're going to announce the winners of your haunted house contest. And so submit the pictures of your decorated Halloween home and get those in. And I am officially a judge. That's right. I'm a judge. You can do all of that over at unxnetwork.com. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. The Sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. We don't bite. Come and hang out with us over there. If you're really courageous, you go over to the YouTube chat room. But that's on you. That's on you. That's not on me. You enter that at your own risk. All right. So Twitter, hashtag F2B, hashtag F2BQ, which is right in front of me. Squeak, squeak every time I turn my head. Hashtag F2BQ, fade to black questions. All right. The big announcement came over the weekend. It officially activated today. That's because officials at NASA have selected a team of 16 scientists and experts who will study the mysteries surrounding UAPs, otherwise known as unidentified flying objects. That's right, UFOs. The independent study kicked off earlier today. The group will include experts from astrobiology, data science, oceanography, genetics, policy, and planetary science, as well as retired NASA astronaut Scott Kelly, former test pilot, former pilot, and of course, U.S. Navy captain. Extraordinary news. Extraordinary. All right. Well, I've forgotten her name already. What was it? Oh, Liz Truss. Liz Truss is out. And former Finance Minister Rishi Sunak will be the United Kingdom's next prime minister. Sunak will become the first person of color and the first Hindu to lead the United Kingdom. At 42 years old, he's also the youngest person to take the office in more than 200 years. He is set to replace, that's right, Liz Truss. Remember her? Who will become the shortest serving prime minister in UK history. Sunak will become prime minister tomorrow once he is officially appointed by King Charles III. Former Prime Minister Boris Johnson withdrew his name last night. I still haven't figured out UK politics. I don't know how it works over there, but keeps us on our toes. Check this out. Archaeologist Jimmy's a judge. That's pretty close there, Cassandra. That's going to get a like every single time. I love sleep. There's Olivia. There you go. And I love Twitter. Ken Priest, Troublemaker, Sarah Ann, Rockstar, Lord Nelson. You guys are the best. Triscale. You guys are the best. You got to go hang out on Twitter. All right. Today, it was announced. Archaeologists in northern Iraq have discovered beautiful rock carvings that are about 2,700 years old. They were found in Mosul by a U.S. Iraqi excavation team working to reconstruct the ancient Mashki Gate, which Islamic State militants destroyed back in 2016. The 8 marble reliefs show finely chiseled war scenes, grapevines, and palm trees. If you haven't seen the images of these 8 panels, you've got to go and check it out. This is some of the finest carvings of any art that I've ever seen. It's incredible. The Mashki Gate, that was rebuilt and reconstructed back in the 1970s. One of the largest gates in all of the world, let alone just Iraq. But it was destroyed with a bulldozer by those militants back in 2016. And so reconstructing that, they found these panels. And they are incredible. You see this dude shooting this arrow. They look brand new. It's just incredible. Check it out. All right. Well, here's the big news, believe it or not. Because over the next couple of weeks, not one, but 2 eclipses will be taking place. Early on the morning of Tuesday, November 8th. All right, a week from tomorrow. No, a week from 2 weeks, 2 weeks away. The moon will plunge completely into the shadow of the Earth, producing a total lunar eclipse that will be visible from North America as well as parts of South America, Central and Eastern Asia, Australia, and New Zealand. But as a prelude, tomorrow, Tuesday, October 25th, the new moon will orbit between the sun and the earth, causing a partial eclipse of the sun to take place, a solar eclipse, but it's only happening over northern Russia. That's right. And it's just going to go directly south through India and into the ocean. Over here in the States, we get nothing. That's the way it is. But it's going to be pretty cool on November 8th. All right. Let's get this show cracking. On this day in history, 2003, the supersonic Concorde jet makes its last commercial passenger flight, traveling at twice the speed of sound from New York City's JFK Airport to London's Heathrow Airport. I remember this was around, I saw this for many years, but the first time I saw it was just crazy. And I'm going to say 1995. You know, I fly into JFK, and I don't know if it was on the runway or if I saw it before, but I certainly saw it on the runway. A line of Concorde jets. There was like 3 or 4, maybe 5, parked out there, and cruise and seeing them in person. It was just an amazing sight. And every time that I flew into JFK, I couldn't wait to see the Concordes sitting there on the runway. And then they were gone. I just miss it. I just miss it. So there you go. But I got to see it. It was before cell phone cameras, right? But I saw it. I did. All right. Here's your fader fact. I went through this list today. It's pretty incredible. Disney and Marvel, same company. Disney and Marvel have 5 out of the top 10 highest grossing films of all time. Avengers Endgame, Star Wars The Force Awakens, Avengers Infinity War, Spider-Man No Way Home, and The Avengers. 5 out of the top 10 of all time, for a total take of over 11 billion ducks quacking in the pond. And you go and you look at the list and you dig it a little bit deeper. That's 50%, right? Go to the top 16 grossing films of all time. 8 of the top 16, that's right, half Disney and Marvel. It's insane. It is absolutely insane. All right, there you go. Disney and Marvel. That is so much money. The community of Burbank, which is tiny, you can drive across Burbank in 5 minutes, in and out of town, north, south, east, west, doesn't matter. Burbank is that big, small. And half of Burbank, I bet if you went on Google Earth and you look at the studio complex there for Disney and Marvel, it's probably half the city of Burbank. That little piece of land, which is just blocks wide, $11 billion. That's just in those 5 films. That doesn't include, it's nuts. You can smell the money, man. You can smell it. You can see it. All right. Tonight, very special guest, Lee Spiegel joins us for Halloween Night 4. Tomorrow night, Dan Terry is here for Halloween Night number 5. Wednesday night, it's the return of Shaw, the Loon Witch. And I think this is the 9th year. Yeah, 9th year. Shaw's going to be here doing your readings back to back to back to back. Is so much fun. You're not going to want to miss it. And if you have participated in different Halloween specials in years past and Shaw did a reading for you, call in. Tell us what happened. Yeah. I want to hear from you. So we'll do all of that. That is Wednesday night. And then Thursday night is another Fader night. With open lines all night long. What does Skyhawk say here? Did you see all the NASA fine print? They will only review unclassified information reports. More worthless BS. Yeah. All right. Jimmy, when the rock music comes on, is that me? That looks like me. That's actually pretty good. Okay. Anyway, go check that out. That's over. I'm reading the Twitter feed. Okay. All right. What was I doing? Oh, River Moon Coffee. RiverMoonWellness.com. I like my coffee, Doc. Go Beckley Tappy. Promo code F2B Blend. Best coffee in the world. Hands down. No question about it. It is the best. Man, this is squeaking on my glasses. There's got to be a way to avoid it. Let's see. Do I bring this further down? Oh. No more squeaking. All right. Now, a couple of things that I wanted to take a minute to talk about. Number one, yes, I have just wrapped and completed season 1 of my new TV series. Okay. Now, there's some chatter going on out there, and there's been some pictures posted, and the information about the who, what, when is kind of leaked out onto the internet. Didn't come from me. But anyway, that's not my point. Well, it sort of is, in that I haven't announced anything because I adhere to my contracts. And it's up to the network to figure out the marketing and the release of this. I do have a release date, and it's going to be premiering in about 2 weeks. All right. So you're going to get episode 1 in about 2 weeks. Today, we started planning the marketing and the rollout of everything. And I will be doing that as I'm supposed to. All right. And the veil will be lifted and you guys will get to see this. I'm very, 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 very excited. And we'll talk about this more in depth later. But when I say we, that's the network and the team involved and my executive producer, of course. From the very beginning, we set the bar and set the standard really, really high. And with any network, and I've been through many contracts, a lot of promises are made. They'll do anything to get you to sign. And you go and do that. And then in the end, it's never what you thought it was. And so this time around, I can say that the vision that we talked about in the beginning, almost 2 years ago, actually happened. I'm very, very excited about this, and I cannot wait. In combined energies, not only with completing this TV show, which I have been shooting now for 3 months, in between doing Fade to Black, in between doing everything else. I've shot 2 films in the same time span, which will be coming out later. And the trips that I have been going on and everything that, it has been extremely, extremely busy here. I've had no time off, but that's all fine. But I was able to, and this all ties into Egypt. I was able to do a real assessment of who I think I am and my vision of the world. Of course, this audience and things, but what is really going on? What is going on? What is going on with our life, my life, and things? What is it that we know? What is it that we understand? What is it that I think that I know? And I was tested over these last few months, both physically and spiritually and philosophically. And when I got back from Egypt, when I was traveling back from Egypt, and I had a long flight between Amman, Jordan, and Chicago, 14-hour flight, and I had a lot of time to just think. And I'm thinking, what just happened in Egypt? What was that all about? And their cultures around the world, go with me on this, because this is how I've started to put things together, and it started on that flight back. Cultures around the world have understood how to go through a physical journey to find yourself, right? And it could be, so many cultures do it, right? You got a young man, it doesn't matter what continent, pick it. You send him off, he's gone for 30 days, he's got no food, he's got no weapons, he's got no shoes, whatever. And he's got to go out and then come back. And when he comes back, he's now a different person, and he's able to, or she, to look at themselves. And in a lot of ways, that's exactly what I went through. And I certainly went through that in Egypt, but I also went through it in this last 3, 4, 5 month period, testing myself both physically and mentally, right? So I get back from Egypt. I mean, I am just lost. I saw way too much. I went through too much, and I'm trying to unpack it, and I'm trying to think about it. And I come back to the United States, back to this version of reality, and I'm again pushing the gas pedal down, and I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got to get this done, and there's just no time to stop. And we go and we wrap the TV series, and and I come back and I'm just thinking, man, I have just pushed through all of that. I've been able to see things for myself just a little bit differently. And it's one of the things is this, and this is where I'm going. Egypt has had, the people of Egypt has had 5,000 years to figure it out. 5,000 years. You walk around Egypt, it doesn't matter what part of the country, what part of society, it doesn't matter. They've got it figured out. It's in their DNA. The smallest of children to the oldest adults, they've got it figured out. They're happy. They've got it figured out. And I look at the United States, the rest of the world too. But I look at the United States, where here we've got cultures, we're a melting pot, we're all of that. But the country itself, we're 250 years old. And you can push it to 300. You could push it to 400 if you want. But imagine where the United States will be culturally as people 4,000 years from now, 4,500 years from now. Where will we have it figured out? Yeah, hopefully we will. But you don't get that point of view. You don't get that perspective until you leave this country and go to a country like Egypt, where they have it figured out. You come back here and we simply do not. We are thousands of years away from being where Egypt is right now, as a people, as a culture, and as a country. And that's the test, right? And when you go through it, and it's fun, and you come back here and you just realize, yeah, it's great. I love my friends. I love my family. I love this country. I do. I love all of it. But man, do we've got a lot of growing up to do. And where are we going to be in 5,000 years as a culture, as a country? Hopefully, we'll be like Egypt, where everybody from the youngest of the young to the oldest of the old is walking around with a smile on their face. That's right. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight is Halloween night 4. We've got Lee Spiegel joining us. Tomorrow night, Dan Terry. Excited about this. Dan Terry is with us tomorrow night for night 5. Wednesday night, it is the return of Shaw, the Loon Witch. We're going to do open lines all night long, because she's going to do your readings all night on Wednesday night. Thursday's another Fader Nights. I'm hanging out with all of you. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer and UNX Networks. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back with Lee Spiegel right after this short break. That's right. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. Hello, Fadernauts. Jimmy Church here. You've seen me with my thunderstorm. Now you can purify the air in your home and get healthy, clean, fresh-smelling air and eliminate odors just like I do right here in the bunker. The Eden Pier Thunderstorm uses oxy technology that naturally sends out O3 molecules into the air, which seek out odors and air pollutants in your home and destroys them. It's called a thunderstorm because it purifies the air just like after a thunderstorm. And right now, you can save $200 on an Eden Pier Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. With this special offer, you're getting 3 units for under $200. Seriously. Go to EdenPureDeals.com and use Fader3. Shipping is free and it's easy. Just scroll down. You'll see my name right there, Jimmy Church. Click on it and get your deal today. That's EdenPureDeals.com.
Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Then you'll love the unexnetwork.com. The X is your streaming audio and video for everything supernatural, strange, and mysterious, like UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and so much more. From hosts like Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and Christina Gomez. Visit the unexnetwork.com show page for a complete list of all the paranormal programs you'll find on the X. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for updates at KUNXDB. Follow our Facebook group, UNX Network. Find the podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Audible, and Apple Podcast. It's time. It's new. It's the X.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Manson. You're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. I was almost delayed. It's all good. Everybody just relax. Man, the music's fading down. Where's Jimmy? It's all good. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Lee Spiegel is with us. Night number 4 of our Halloween, leading up to our anniversary special event that's going down a week from today on Monday. And now here's the deal. Lee's going to be there. All right. Race Hobbs is going to be there. Margie K is going to be there. We've got a whole list of guests. We're going to be doing paranormal stuff. I think 3 different locations. Definitely 2. I think there's a surprise 3rd. And we're also going to announce the winner of the Halloween House Decorations Contest. All right. So we're going to be doing all of that. And Lee Spiegel is going to be there. But here's the deal. Lee has presented credible, compelling stories about UFO science and the paranormal to the public since 1975, when he produced a documentary record album called UFOs, The Credibility Factor for CBS. In 1978, he began 8 years of writing, producing, and hosting nearly 1,500 local and national programs on NBC Radio, dealing, of course, with the UFOs and unexplained phenomena. Also, in 1978, he became the only person in history to produce a UFO presentation at the United Nations. Also during this time, he was a feature writer for OMNI magazine, one of my favorite publications. And then between 2010 and 2017, he was writing for the Huffington Post. In 2020, he co-produced and co-wrote The Phenomenon, the UFO documentary from director James Fox. Currently, he is the co-producer and host of the weekly Edge of Reality radio program, and he's also the managing editor of the UNX magazine. You know what? I can go on and on. I can go on and on. His resume, you know, I just read that because I'm tired. I just got back from Egypt. I don't need to spend 15 minutes reading Lee Spiegel's life history. Oh, Lee, you're on with us. How you doing, my man?
I just appeared out of nowhere.
Man, Lee, you're the absolute very best. And when I grow up and turn into a young man, I just want to be you.
Well, and you know, there are so many things about you that I wish I could be. For example, I wish I had the same background as you have right now.
Yes. You know what? Somebody asked me, this was about 3 weeks ago. I'm not going to say who the guest is.
Right.
The guest goes, straightening out my glass. The guest literally said, "Man, I love the green screen that you have."
Oh.
I said, "What are you talking about? I don't use a green screen." He goes, "No, the guitars, the green screen."
Yeah.
I said, I go, "What? This green screen right here? You're talking about this?" He goes, "What? Those are real?" I said, "They are." But yeah, it's not a green screen. Yeah, thank you for that, Lee. We've talked about this in the past, and we don't have to go into it now. But what most people don't know about Lee is, you know, he's a musician too, and was a member of that very cliquey coffee and marijuana pot smoking Greenwich Village music scene.
Actually, yes.
That's exactly what was going on there. And
in my first week, when I landed in New York City in 1970, I went there from New Hampshire. I left New Hampshire with a suitcase and my guitar.
Right.
Got on a Trailways bus. And I remember seeing, as we approached Manhattan, seeing the Empire State Building for the first time and going, wow, I'm actually doing this. I'm going to take my folk singing skills and go to Manhattan and get a record deal. That was what I was doing. And it wasn't until, well, that was 1970. And it was like not until 5 years later that I got a record deal, but it had nothing to do with my music. It was a record deal to produce a documentary record deal about UFOs.
Yeah. Isn't that funny how that happens? Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, you and I, we've got a lot to do tonight, and what I love about having you on is we can just talk about anything.
Yeah.
But you and I, our careers have such a similar path to it. Something that you and I have talked about privately, where Lee and I will be going, "Well, I did that too. I did it too. Me too."
Yeah.
But I did the same thing, and I jumped on a plane one day with $100 in my pocket and left Indianapolis for Los Angeles with, stars in my eyes and things. And I kissed it. I touched it. I didn't quite, and my journey, and I wouldn't change anything, right? But my journey has led me to you tonight and what my career is today. And I'm happy, man. I wouldn't have changed anything. I know you're not playing that Martin 12 string at a coffee shop, in the Meat District, but that's cool too. But look at what everything, if you had a choice,
right?
Now, you never change anything, but you have a choice. Opening up for Simon and Garfunkel at Carnegie Hall,
right?
Or a presentation at the United Nations for UFOs.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, boy. I've got to do the United Nations.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's fun. And it's funny that you should mention that at Carnegie Hall, because One of the things that I did before it was a lucky stroke that I was able to put this UFO record together for CBS. I was earning a living, still trying to be a folk singer, still trying to get a record deal. And I was a salesperson at one of the biggest music instrument stores in New York City called Sam Ash.
Right.
And regular recording artists would come in, and one day I got picked by the store manager and saying, "Oh, you see that guy over there? You can handle him." And it was Jackson Brown.
Oh, there you go.
So he walked into the store, and I went over to him and said, "Hello, can I help you with something?" He said, "Yeah, my name is Jackson." I said, "Yes, sir, I know. It's a pleasure to meet you. What are you looking for?" He said, "Well, I'm in the mood for a new guitar, maybe 2 new guitars. What have you got in a good new acoustic guitar that a lot of people haven't heard about?" And I said, "Well, yeah, come this way. Let me show you what we've got off the rack."
Well, see, it's an acoustic guitar because this was before electricity, everybody.
Yes.
This is
well, and I pulled off a guitar called a Gurion. It was a brand new, handmade from Vermont guitar. The way Martin guitars used to be always handmade from, was it Nazareth, Pennsylvania?
That's
I
right.
believe.
That's right.
And I pulled off this Gurion guitar, and he played it, and he loved it. He said, "I'll take 2 of them." I said,
Wait. I'm going to tell you a funny story. Nazareth, PA, and Martin guitars. Okay. The inside of a Martin guitar, it says handmade in Nazareth, Pennsylvania.
Right.
When Robbie Robertson of the band is writing that famous line, "So I went down to Nazareth," right? Okay, take a load off Annie, right? And that line, Nazareth, he said he didn't know where to go in the song. He didn't know. He's writing the lyrics, and he looks down into his Martin guitar and sees Nazareth, PA, and that's how Nazareth got into that song.
Oh,
is that crazy?
That's great.
It's in the new documentary about the band, and when he tells that, so I was like, I always wondered about that.
Wow,
Nazareth, where's this coming from? And it's just because he looked into his Martin guitar and saw Nazareth. So
great story. So Jackson Brown says, "Okay, I'll take 2 of them. What are you doing when you get off work tonight?" And I said, "Well, I'm working till 6 o'clock. What do you have in mind?" He said, "I'm going to leave your name at the backstage door of Carnegie Hall, and just show up there on 7 o'clock, not much later than that, and they will bring you up to my dressing room." And I thought, well, cool, fine. If I had any plans, they're gone now. So I went to Carnegie Hall, said, "Hi, my name's Lee Spiegel, and I hope my name is on your list." "Yes, you come right in." And they brought me up a couple of flights of stairs, and I walked into Jackson Brown's dressing room, where he was sitting there and playing one of the guitars that he had purchased for me earlier that day. But that's not what really caught my eye. It was who was sitting like on the other side of his dressing room, and it was Linda Ronstadt.
Well, that was the whole crew back then. Yeah, that was the whole crew. So it's Jackson Brown, it's the Eagles, it's Linda Ronstadt. They were all roommates. They were all living together. They were all in each other's bands and learning how to write together. I would have loved that part of music history. Okay. So Glenn Fry, is renting a house on Laurel Canyon, right? Okay, the infamous Laurel Canyon, and it's him and somebody else from the Eagles, right? They're living in this house, and they're trying to write songs for their first album, renting the basement, a 1-room bedroom in the basement, was Jackson Brown. And so they said they would sit up there, and it doesn't matter what the song is, right? Running on Empty or whatever, Doctor My Eyes or something, right? So Jackson Brown, they said they were up there for like 2 months listening to the opening verse over and over and over again, over and over. And they go down to Jackson like, dude, can you move on to the second line? He goes, no, man, I'm trying to get it right. And Glenn Fry said, that's when I learned right there. You just don't write a song like that and it's perfect. Jackson Browne is a songsmith. And so they started hanging out with Jackson, trying to learn how to write a song. And what did they do? They turn into Linda Ronstadt's backup band. You know what I mean? It was just all circle. And look at the genius that whole group created. And you were right there, man. Good for you.
It was an amazing time. As soon as I saw Jackson there and Linda Ronstadt, I looked around and I wanted to say to someone, pinch me. I can't believe, where I am. And in fact, the rest of the evening is kind of a big blur to me right now because I was so enamored by where I was in the backstage, Carnegie Hall. I had other moments like that with other musical heroes of mine, not the least of which were Peter, Paul, and Mary. Oh,
you know what? And you saying this, this is, we're only apart by about 10 years or so. All right, give or take. And so the generational gap between 1970 and 1980, because I'm a 1980 guy, you're a 1970 guy. Mm-hmm. So I have people come up to me all the time and they want to know, so man, what was it like, on the Sunset Strip in 1983? Yeah. Because it was the same thing that went on in Laurel Canyon and the meatpacking district, right, of New York and Greenwich Village. The same thing where it's just a small group of friends that change the world. And that's when I went on the Sunset Strip where you're walking around and there's this band and this that went on, to fundamentally change things. But we didn't know that. Right. And Linda Ronstadt and you and Jackson Browne, they didn't know that they were changing the world. They were just hanging out and doing their thing.
And I didn't know what fate had in store for me. I was just a musician from New England, wanted a record deal, and that's all I knew. It was just all I knew. And I could not have known anything differently until 1973, when I was working at that same music store where I sold those guitars. And one of the in the back of the store is where they sold all the woodwind instruments, and the two guys there always had a little radio playing in the background, and they had it tuned to one of the two main New York news stations. And one day when I was standing in the back of the store, this news item came on about something happened. Two events took place within the same week in 1973, in October 1973, that basically changed my whole life. I went, what did the guys just say? People saw what in the sky? Two fishermen from Pascagoula, Mississippi claimed that what happened to them while they were fishing? What, an Army helicopter almost collided with a UFO over Ohio? What? What's this?
Was that on 42nd Street?
No, 48th Street.
Oh, 48th Street.
48th Street was pretty much called Music Row, because on both sides of the street between 6th Avenue and Broadway, there were music stores on both sides of the street. So if you were a musician in the town and you needed anything, you knew where to go. This was the place to go in Manhattan to get all your supplies, all your instruments, all your accessories. This was it.
Now it's I wonder what 48th Street is like today. I'm sure Sam Ash is still there, but there was 50 music. Is Sam Ash gone?
Sam Ash is now called the Super Sam Ash store on 34th Street, right near B&H Photo. They're right between 8th Avenue and 9th Avenue. Next to Sam Ash on 48th Street, there used to be the competitor, Manny's Music.
Manny's was amazing.
Yeah.
Many times.
I think eventually Sam Ash bought out Manny's, but that whole street now, it hasn't been that long since I've driven down that street. There's not a music store anywhere.
That's
It's all,
crazy.
it's all condos. People
That's
are living in apartment buildings there. That's it. The music part of it is gone. It's history. It's like, whoa.
B&H is still there.
B&H is now over on 34th Street at the corner of 34th and 9th Avenue.
Now, do not tell me this has changed. The original B&H, when you walked in there, they had this train system, delivery system in the ceiling so you walk up to the counter and you go, can I see that camera in the case? And they'll take it out and show me, yes, I'll take it. They'll ring it up, and then that goes upstairs, and then it would come down on that trolley. I would stand there, and this thing went all the way through the whole store. It's like a model train set.
It's a whole conveyor belt system.
Conveyor belt thing.
Yeah.
And you stand there, and then all of a sudden, the camera, it comes down, and it is in your hands. And I would stand there. Somebody go, can I help you? I go, man, give me a few minutes, man. I gotta watch this. And it's just crazy. Thousands of boxes and are being delivered to where somebody is standing, and it just comes down. It was the most amazing thing. So tell me that still exists.
It does.
Okay, good.
B&H Photo is the kind of place where it's like a musician's candy store. It's like you can't not buy something when you're there. Even if you just want to buy like 5 guitar picks or a capo or something, you've got to buy something while you're there, just so that you can see where it's coming on the conveyor belt. And you see them putting it in the bag, and then they hand it to you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I did it twice. Just because. Oh man, I bought. I want to get this exactly right. I bought a 35, the cheapest camera I could find there was 35 before digital. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't very much money, but they have every camera ever made in the history of the known universe in the store. They have thousands of underwater cameras and things, everything. It's all there. But I'm okay. Can I see that? Yes. All right. I'll take it. And it took like 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That thing was delivered, man.
Mm-hmm.
Right down to me. It was the coolest thing. I still have the camera too.
Well, when they first started, I think they were just known as B&H Photo. So that's what they were well known for. And then they just expanded into everything.
They sell everything.
And I've over the years, I've gotten to the point now where I don't have to go into Manhattan. If I'm looking for something that I want to buy from them, I can go right online, see something that I'm kind of interested in, and I can call them, and their salespeople are so smart. They know what they're talking about, and they won't try and sell you anything that you don't want. They'll offer advice. And if you're using your computer, they'll say, hold on a second, let me send you a couple of links of maybe 2 of the items that you're looking for, and you can decide which one you think you like. And you don't have to buy it from us today. Think about it, and then call us back, or just go online and buy it. And the other thing is, for no extra money, depending on where you live. I live like almost 100 miles out of Manhattan. I'll have it the next day delivered to the house.
It's so funny. I'm watching the chat. Are we going to talk about UFOs? If the more you guys push it, the longer Lee and I are going to talk guitar strings.
Well, I mean, look, we can talk about it. It's not very often that you and I get to talk about this kind of stuff too, because people don't always know what our backgrounds are.
Yeah, that's right.
In what you said before, when you introduced me, did I hear anything like, oh, he used to sell guitars at a place called... No, that doesn't...
I sold guitars at Guitar Center.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
absolutely, man. I did my 2 years in the trenches. I absolutely did. And if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be here today with you. If you hadn't have hung out on 48th Street, you wouldn't be here right now. And see, here's the crazy thing about the journey, Lee. People say this all the time. Well, if I could go back in time, I would go back and fix it. Okay, you do that, everything in your life changes. You don't have your kids. You don't marry the person that you thought. You don't get the. All of that changes, right? Do you really want to alter one little thing about your past? Because then everything is different. For me, I'm not changing one single thing.
Yeah,
the good and the bad, it's all fine.
Yeah, I agree. Because you never know who you're going to meet, who can help to transform the rest of your life and how you think about things, and you just never know. You go with your feelings. And I remember the day that light bulb appeared over my head when I was in the store. The light bulb turned on and said, "Forget your music career. You're going to start looking into weird stuff that happens from the skies and stories that people are telling." And I just kind of went with that, and I started reading as many books as I could on UFOs. And I remember the day that I called my parents from New York, and they always liked it when I called, and they would get on 2 separate phones in the house. And my mother didn't talk a lot because she just liked to listen. Well, my dad was a big talker. And so how are you doing today, son? Anything happening with your music? Well, listen, I just wanted to tell you guys something that I think I've decided to stop pursuing my music career. Oh, really? You have something?
What?
you have something else in mind? And I said, yeah. I basically said something like, "Are you both sitting?"
Are you going to be a doctor? No. Are you going to be an engineer? No. Are you going back to school? No.
No.
Say it.
I said, I'm going to start doing some research into, how shall I put it, UFOs. Have you ever heard the term UFOs? And my mother still didn't say anything, but my dad started chuckling. You mean flying saucers? I said, yes, Dad. It's exactly what I mean. And he said, well, okay, tell us more. Oh, well then.
He didn't say, honey, call the lawyer. We need to look at the will. We need to figure out how this money's being distributed. But they were okay with it.
Oh, not only were they okay, Jimmy. I mean, from the moment I got into all of this, they wanted to know everything I was doing. How's the album coming? How's your UFO album coming? Who have you interviewed? Who's coming up? And then later on, you're going to do something at the United Nations? Give us the date. And on the day of the UN big presentation in November of 1978, my mother and father, younger brother, and I guess one of my cousins got into a car in New Hampshire and drove to New York in a snowstorm so they could be at the United Nations to see what I was doing.
That's what life's all about right there. That's
I mean,
the journey.
Whoa.
Let's take our commercial break right here. Let's get this in. Our guest tonight, the one and only Lee Spiegel. When we come back, we'll talk about the aliens. We'll talk about the UFOs. Lee Spiegel is here. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break. We're going to talk about Egypt and the art of selecting the correct guitar pick. We'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, VX.
Hello, Fadernauts. Jimmy Church here. You've seen me with my thunderstorm. Now you can purify the air in your home and get healthy, clean, fresh-smelling air and eliminate odors just like I do right here in the bunker. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm uses oxy technology that naturally sends out O3 molecules into the air, which seek out odors and air pollutants in your home and destroys them. It's called a thunderstorm because it purifies the air just like after a thunderstorm. And right now, you can save $200 on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. With this special offer, you're getting 3 units for under $200. Seriously. Go to EdenPureDeals.com and use Fader3. Shipping is free and it's easy. Just scroll down. You'll see my name right there, Jimmy Church. Click on it and get your deal today. That's EdenPureDeals.com.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. And I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can, right now, get your own free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers, and you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Monday night, kicking off another amazing week here on Fade to Black. Lee Spiegel is our guest. And now we're also this week and over the last couple of weeks, we're celebrating a year of the UNX network. And Lee, you're a central part of all of that. And it's pretty crazy that it has been a year. And,
yeah.
And we'll see on Monday night, and we'll talk more about that on Monday night and things. But I just can't. I don't know where the year went. But I want. We have talked so much over the years, and I want to get into your head about some other things. And with the amount of research that you have done into the UFO subject. Do you find yourself going down the same paths that I think many researchers do, is that you start with something modern that has drawn you in, right? In this case, it could be Pascagoula, right? And then you start moving yourself backwards And then you find that possibly, I'm not sure, this is the question, that this has been going on for thousands and thousands of years. This isn't some modern situation. Yeah. Did you do the same thing? Did you just continue to research backwards?
I had no choice. It just kind of evolved that way. When I first heard the story of the Pascagoula, Mississippi fisherman, Lieutenant Colonel Larry Coyne, and the helicopter incident that they almost collided with, all I wanted to know was this real, or were these phony stories? But they turned out to be more real than not. And so I started to read the available books that I could at the time. This was 1973. And again, we did not have a thing then called the internet. It was all, you had to rely entirely on going to the library, or if you wanted to do any kind of serious research, you'd have to go to Washington, to the National Archives, and sit in front of those big microfilm projectors and look at things. If you wanted to know anything about Project Blue Book that the Air Force had for 20, 25 years, you had to go there and look through the microfilm Project Blue Book files. And even that stuff wasn't really crystal clear, and it was like a total hassle. But if you were into doing it, and if you've made the commitment to learning more about it, then you did it. You did whatever you could. And when I first started reading about the UFOs, I wanted to know, really, are there aliens? Are there extraterrestrials? I grew up in the 50s, believe it or not. I from Massachusetts. I was born in Boston. Moved to Concord, New Hampshire when I was 5 years old, and had a normal, regular upbringing, very stable family life, where UFOs and unidentified this or that never came up, ever. I mean, nothing. Loch Ness Monster, poltergeists, UAPs. I mean, we never had these kinds of family discussions or experiences. I had to read about other people's experiences or encounters. And
let me jump in. You said New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Betty and Barney Hill, 1961. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Well, I went to Plymouth State College, which is now Plymouth State University, up in Plymouth, New Hampshire. My dormitory room looked out and further north to just a few miles north of where I was, at the Indian Head Resort area where the Betty and Barney Hill abduction took place. And so people in New Hampshire heard about this because word spread really fast. Nobody tried to keep it quiet, but it did take a few years before the first book came out on the subject, before their story hit Life magazine.
Right.
And people started hearing about this. And it seemed like at the time, we hadn't heard about a thing called an abduction or kidnapping. It's like this case set the bar and set it pretty high for those kinds of stories to come out. And now, how many tens of thousands or more are we hearing about from around the world of people who are reporting some kind of close encounters with someone or something from somewhere?
If we go back to the 1973 timeline, I would have been 10 years old.
Uh-huh.
But something else really incredible happened between 70 and 73, which was Eric Von Daniken.
Yes.
Chariots of the Gods, the film. I think it's 1970, 71. The book came out, and the film came out. Did you go see the film or read the book first?
No, got the book first.
Right.
Yeah. The first thing that I would do were to find the kind of books that caught my interest. The very first book I read was Beyond Earth: Man's Contact with UFOs. That was written by husband and wife team of Ralph and Judy Blum. And they wrote the book based on their research. And Ralph was one of the writers and researchers for an NBC TV, what they called a white news or white paper news special that NBC used to put on the air. And they were doing something about UFOs. And based on all the people that appeared in Ralph's book, the politicians, the astronauts, the military, the commercial pilots, even they broke the story in the book of the Pascagoula, Mississippi story.
Right.
And so I wanted to. I was really taken by that book, and I really couldn't imagine going any further in my own quest to learn more. That I really wanted to meet the Blums, and my whole story about how I kind of broke the law in my quest to meet them, because I knew that he had an office at NBC 30 Rock in New York City, and I just one day decided I was going to go to NBC and try and find him. That's how naive I was about that kind of thing. And I just had to meet the guy because his book really impressed me. And I went to NBC one day in the middle of 30 Rock, where the security desk was, and I knew I didn't have any reason to be there legally, and so I had no pass or anything or ID. And I noticed that there was a crowd of people gathering around the security desk, and I asked somebody, "What's going on? What's the crowd for?" And someone said to me, "Oh, we're on the tour, and we're here to see a couple of showings of Jeopardy, the quiz show." Because they used to do it at 30 Rock in New York. And I said, "Oh, that's interesting." And I waited and I waited and I waited. And finally, one of the NBC people said, "Okay, everybody here for the tour, stay in line. We're going to go through the desk, we're going to go into the elevators, and we're going to go up and we're going to go to the studio to see Jeopardy." And I, in my naivety, just blended in with the crowd and went through the security desk unannounced.
Yeah, that's what that is completely naive, but it worked.
And my father was so proud of me when I told him the story that I wasn't calling him from prison.
Right.
No, but I basically went through the crowd, and I thought, well, while I'm here, yeah, I'd like to see a taping of a real quiz show. And I went into the studio and saw 3 different Jeopardy shows. And when that was all done, and okay, everybody, it's time to leave. Now we're going to take you on the rest of the NBC tour. And they started walking down the halls. Everybody stay in line, don't lose your position. And as the crowd went one way, I just decided to walk in the other direction. And I found myself on the floor where the news offices were. And I was going down the hall looking to see if I could find a name plaque that might have said Ralph Blum, News Department, Ralph Blum, and I didn't. So I walked into a couple of different newsrooms. And somebody said, can we help you? And I said, well, I'm looking for Ralph Blum's office. I'm here to pick up something for him. They said, well, no, this is not his office. Hold on, let me check our directory. Oh, he's further down here. He's like in room 2134, just down the other end of the hall. Thank you very much. And I went down, walked in, and I didn't know if he was going to be there or not. I was just like Indiana Jones. I was making it up as I went along. And I walked in and someone said, "Can we help you?" And I said, "Yes. Is this Ralph Blum's office?" And they said, "Yes, but Ralph is out of town. Can we help you with something?" I said, "Yes, I'm actually here to pick up his mail for him and bring it to his home in Manhattan." Total lie, and total illegal. I mean, really, I didn't know what I was doing. And they said, "Oh, hold on a second." And they came back and they had a couple of rubber bands tied around a whole lot of mail and things. And they said, this is for Ralph, and tell him we hope he's having a good time. See him when he gets back. I said, "Thank you very much." I turned around and I walked out. And I walked out of NBC going, what did I just do?
How long did it take before he contacted you?
I'll tell you, because I had his address now on all of his mail. He had a Madison Avenue building. So I got into a cab and I said, "Take me to so-and-so Madison Avenue." Again, not knowing what I was going to find. But I was feeling a little better about it at this point. Get out of the cab and went over to the mailbox outside, and there were a lot of different names, and I saw the name Blum. And I hit the buzzer for Blum, and there was no response. Okay. So then I hit the buzzer for building super. And the super came out and said, "Yeah, can I help you with something?" I said, "Yeah, I'm here to deliver Mr. Blum's mail. Can I leave it with you and give it to him when he comes back?" And the guy said, "Sure." I said, "Great. Hold on a second. I want to leave him a note." And I took out a piece of paper and I wrote, "Dear Mr. Blum, my name is Lee Spiegel, and I'm a big fan of your book, Beyond Earth. I have an idea for how you can take this, an idea beyond your book that you might really enjoy. I'd love to talk to you about it. Hope you'll get in touch with me. Here's my number. gave it to the super, and I waited. And like 2 days later, my phone rings, and I said, "Hello," and this voice said, "Is this Lee Spiegel?" "Yes, it is." "This is Ralph Blum. How the hell did you get my mail?" and I'm thinking, "Oh,
you know, today you would get arrested."
Oh, of course.
That is
Of course.
That is stalking 101.
Stalking for a good reason.
Yeah, stalking 101. I want to change gears because all of this led to, and then the album,
album. Oh, yeah.
I'm following the chat here, and this is what is interesting, because this happened to you not long after this, but everybody's talking about their first UFO sighting in the chat.
Yes.
Can we talk about? I want everybody to hear this while it's in the flow here. The triangle sighting, and the reason for that is because I've showed everybody the painting and the depictions of it in the past.
Yeah.
I don't have that in front of me, but that sighting was actually turned out to be a very, very, very big deal.
Yeah.
But it's always when you least expect it.
Yeah, we didn't know. With Ralph Blum's help and some contacts that I made in the city, we got a record deal from CBS, and they gave me front money so that I could travel around the country and interview people for the album. And because of all the people that Ralph and Judy had in their book, he helped set me up with people like Alan Hynek, Stan Friedman, Gordon Cooper, Jim McDivitt, politicians. I mean, it was such an easy thing. And he gave me phone numbers, and I introduced myself, and they said, "Sure, come. We can be interviewed by you for your documentary." So in the middle of working on this documentary in 1975, I'm home, and I get a call from Dr. J. Allen Hynek. Okay, the Dr. J. Allen Hynek, because I had already gone to Evanston, Illinois, and interviewed him for my album. So he and I had already started to become close friends. And he called and asked and told me that there was something going on in Lumberton, North Carolina, that he was getting phone calls from police officers, sheriff's deputies, highway patrolmen. Something was being seen in their skies over several days, and they were calling him on his special 800 hotline at the Center for UFO Studies in Illinois, asking him for help to investigate this. So he said, "I don't have anyone down there that can be helpful in that. Do you have time? I know you're working on your album. Do you have time to go down there and see what's going on, interview as many of the law enforcement people as you can, and fill out a report and submit it to me. And if I like what you've given us, I'll publish your findings through the Center for UFO Studies." And I said, "Tell me what they're reporting. What are they seeing?" He said, "Well, here in 1975, we don't hear much about people reporting something that's a boomerang shape or a triangle, a V-shaped object." And I said, "Let me get this straight, Alan. Are you asking me to go down there and investigate something that basically sounds like a flying Dorito?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Look, if you're too busy, if you don't want to go," and I said, "No, don't finish that thought. You're the last person I know who I want to piss off.
Right.
I'm going because you've asked me to go. Of course I'm going." And within hours of arriving in Lumberton, North Carolina, and I went to the local sheriff's department in Lumberton, and I was doing my initial interviews with police officers who had come to tell me their stories. And then all of a sudden, at one point, the dispatcher started getting lots of phone calls, and one of the sheriff's dispatchers, Ron Thompson, said, it's back, let's go." And he and I got into one of the cars, and off we went. And we kept in touch with other law enforcement cars and officers through the car radios. So we always knew where everybody was. Went a few miles out of town, pulled up in front of this vast field. It was already after dark. There was no moon. We could see the stars. And we all got out of the cars after we pulled up at the edge of the field. And we looked across the field in front of us, and above the treetops we saw this red and white alternating back and forth light, red then white, moving slowly from our left to our right above the treetops. And we just stood there and watched. And then it stopped and then started slowly moving across the field in our direction. Oh, okay. That got our attention pretty fast. And it kept moving closer and closer and closer until it stopped, and it just parked itself right in the sky above where we were. And it was at that point that we could see that it was like a V shape. It had a row of red lights up one side, white lights up the other, and at the apex was a larger bright light. And because of these lights that were underneath the craft, we then could see the actual shape that, it was a triangle shape. We can now see that.
How big was it?
Everybody agreed that it probably wasn't much bigger than one of the patrol cars that we were in.
20 feet, maybe?
Yeah, at the most.
Right.
We then started noticing things like, do you hear anything? Do you guys hear anything? No, not even a hum. It was
and what was the altitude above the cars?
They figured maybe just a few hundred feet. Because
it was there.
It was right there.
Yeah.
And it made no sound, no engine sound, and it was just sitting there. And as we watched it, where the brighter light was at the top, a beam came out of it and came right down to the ground, and like right in front of where we were all standing. This thing, the light hit the ground, and it must have lasted. It only lasted no more than 3 seconds that it was on the ground, and then it went back up. Now, you can't imagine, or maybe you can try and imagine, what's going through your head. I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. It's trying to calm my heart down. That's trying to leap out of my chest.
Right.
First of all, and looking around at the guys, and I'm thinking, I'm okay. I have no fear. These guys got their 6 shooters. And then I thought, no, wait a minute. What am I saying to myself? 6 shooters against whatever this thing is that's got whatever ability it has. If it has the intention of taking us away, probing us, and then eating us, I mean, no one would ever know whatever happened to us.
Right.
Yeah. And this was 7 months, exactly 7 months ahead of the Travis Walton case in Arizona.
In Snowflake.
Yeah.
One of my favorite pictures that I have, I'm not going to pull it up right now, but it's a picture of you and I with, who was the artist that did the painting?
Dale Hendrickson.
Yeah, it's the 3 of us, right? And we're holding on both sides. And I remember that day when we took that picture, and I'm looking at the painting, and you were standing right there. I'm like, man, that is just amazing. You go, that's my sighting. I was like, what?
I know.
Yeah,
I know. It is amazing. The other main investigator who Alan Hynek had sent down there was the late great landing trace expert Ted Phillips.
Yeah, Ted's great.
And that's where I first met Ted. And so Ted and I both filed our own reports, and it was later published through the Center for UFO Studies as the Lumberton UFO case.
How long did the entire sighting? How long was it?
Well, from the moment we first saw the lights above the trees, then when it came to us, and then when the light went back into it, and then the whole thing turned like a bright amber color and very slowly revolved about 45 degrees and then moved off very quickly. So that whole thing from beginning to end was maybe 5-6 minutes at the most. And then it went off, and we all got back into the cars, keeping in touch with people. And this thing was going to different counties, and it was showing itself. It was just showing off to other police officers that were along the way. And
now, how do you over the years, how do you unpack this? Because you know where technology is today, and you know what the possibilities are, just terrestrial, our own abilities to do things now.
Sure.
But this was, we're talking about 1975, right?
That's right.
So,
that's right.
40, almost 50 years ago.
Who had this technology?
And so as you've unpacked it, do you think it was ET? And do you think it was us?
I absolutely don't think it was us.
Right.
But I'm not willing to go any further than that because, I mean, obviously all this talk in recent years about, well, it's not our technology. It must be either Russia or Chinese. You know, they're coming, you know, along with technology. But now, you know, lately in the last 2-3 years, we've been told so many different things by the Pentagon, by the government, the congressional meetings that have happened that yeah, we're okay, fine. This is not technology that we have, that nobody has, but we're not willing to go any further and saying what we think it is. But what we will do, we'll form a lot of different committees that are going to look into this. You know, even NASA will start investigating it on its own. And the Pentagon has a new thing. And now it's the UAP task force and all of these things to kind of keep you all unconcerned and unafraid that something is going on that we can't handle, because whatever this is, it's operating in our skies all over the planet, even more so now, and we can't touch it at all. We don't have the ability to touch it.
Were you able to see the back of it?
No, because it turned, and so at that point it was all amber color, so we didn't see what it looked like from the rear. It just started going, and we got quickly into the cars, and among the people that we came upon was a police chief, big old rugged guy, Police Chief Gary Moore. He was sitting in his car on patrol, and I went over to him, and he knew I was coming because we had been in touch through radio contact, and I went over and introduced myself to him while he was in the car, and I said, "So I understand you had a little excitement out here, Chief. Tell me what you saw." And he said, "Well, I'm just sitting here eating my sandwich," and suddenly the whole inside of the car lit up. And I put my head out the window and I looked up at this thing. And this was, 1975, 2 years before Richard Dreyfuss did the same thing in his truck in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Yeah, right. So he said, I looked up and there was this thing parked in the sky right above me. And I said, well, what did you do? He said, well, I just reached in the back of the car, pulled out we have these official lanterns that we use for police emergencies. And I held it out of the window, held it up at the thing, blinked at it, and it blinked back at me. I said, really? And did you do anything else? He said, yeah. I blinked twice, and it blinked twice back at me. Mm-hmm. And as if to say, I'm done messing with you, it took off, where it screwed around the heads of a couple of other policemen that I interviewed later on. And it was like, wow, okay. So all of my initial doubts, I remember telling Alan Hynek, you know, if I'm going to see something, I'd sort of like to see a classic flying saucer, you know, circular dome on top, you know. But okay, now I'm really happy that I saw a flying Dorito, because I didn't know, none of us knew. Years later, when David Marler, the great researcher David Marler, was writing his book called Triangular UFOs: Estimate of the Situation, he came to the conclusion that our event in 1975, Lumberton, North Carolina, was the first multiple witness, well-documented case of a triangular UFO in America.
Let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, the one and only Lee Spiegel. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is night number 4 of our Halloween extravaganza, leading up to a week from this Monday, the 1-year anniversary of the UNX Network. I am your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
The Believer is the chilling true story of Dr. John Mack, a renowned Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize winner.
This is an outreach program from the cosmos to the consciously impaired.
He risked it all to investigate human encounters with aliens. The Believer, Alien Encounters, Hard Science, and The Passion of John Mack. Written by award-winning former New York Times journalist and author Ralph Blumenthal. Now available in paperback from High Road Books.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch, roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fadernauts, when you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA.
Hi, I'm Ray Sobbs, and I'm here to tell you about something I really think you're going to like. The UNX Network is a part of a larger group called UNX Media, and one of the things we offer is the quarterly UNX magazine, which is available both in print and digital formats. This amazing magazine covers all aspects of the unexplained and makes for a great coffee table periodical that is certain to spark enlightening conversations in your living rooms. We invite you to check out the latest digital issue for free. Just go to unxnetwork.com/membership and fill out your free membership with your name and email and become a new free member. The new summer issue is now available, and the theme is Time Anomalies, which includes a feature article written by our managing editor, Lee Spiegel. Just go to unxnetwork.com/memberships. That's unxnetwork.com/memberships and get your free e-copy of the UNX magazine today.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
2,000 shows. I haven't gotten tired of my own bumper music. I can listen to this all day long. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Lee Spiegel is with us. And Lee has done and seen, he's forgotten about more stuff than I know. But Lee asked me, and I just want to do this just for a second, Lee, because we were talking earlier today, and you wanted to know about the Abydos. The infamous carving in Abydos, and Lee was
there it is.
Yeah, Lee was referring to this. So while I've got this up on the screen, and I told Lee earlier, I said, "Okay, don't ask me now. Ask me what is it that you wanted to talk about?"
Well, first of all, I was surprised when you eventually told me this was not a hieroglyph or a carving that was among the more famous areas right there near Cairo, where the Sphinx is and the pyramids are. You told me you've got to really, it's like challenging to get to where this thing is.
It's a big deal. Yeah, it's in Abydos. It's 500 miles south.
Yeah.
South, actually directly south of Cairo on the west bank of the Nile River, if I have my bearings correct.
Yeah, and the whole thing about this, and I saw this years ago, and as far as I know, no one has ever debunked entirely that this was a fraud. It was a hoax. Somebody came along at some point years ago and decided to just put this up among other hieroglyphs, because when you look at this, it seems to clearly show several different modes of operation of aircraft, watercraft.
Yeah. And so, okay, let me, so this appears to be a helicopter, right?
Oh, before you say, let me ask you, when you first approach this, how high is this?
Okay, well, now don't get ahead of your skis.
Okay.
Because that's exactly where I was going.
Yeah.
So for everybody, this appears to be a helicopter. It looks like a Black Hawk to me. Yeah. This appears to be, I always thought it looked like a yacht, but some call it a tank, and this is a turret with a cannon. Yeah. But to me, it always looks like it faces the other way, and this is the front of the hull, and maybe this could be a yacht or a ship. And this looks like a flying saw. You know, you've got a stabilizer in the back. You've got some kind of wing down here, and so these are the three objects that Lee is talking about, and so many have talked about over the years. Now, this is the thing. So when you walk into Abydos, it's a ginormous temple complex with a ceiling and these pillars and this dramatic entrance that you see all over at different temple sites all over Egypt. So you walk in, it's probably a 30-foot door, 3-story, that, the same entrance that you have in all of these temple complexes. You walk in and you go through these into the entry hall, and immediately to your right, there's pillars all over the place, these giant pillars. And then there's a main hallway that goes across the length of the temple. So right there. So when you walk in, you walk to the right. You step into that little intersection that's there. You're in between these two giant pillars, and you look straight up. It's right there at the entrance, and it's about 50 feet in the air across the top of this. So this is coming down, so like a truss, a stone truss. Anyway, so this pillar goes up that's right next to you. Now, this is the trippy thing, where so many have said, a pharaoh came in and decided to put his name all over, and he redid this and redid that. Okay, this is where it's BS. Right next to me, in my opinion,
right
now is this giant pillar. And our Egyptologist that is with us, Shah, we're talking about this. I'm taking the pictures, and it's way. So this section is probably, that's 50 feet in the air. It's probably 8 feet long. So from the back of the helicopter to the front of this other ship, this section right here is probably 6 or 8 feet wide. That helicopter is probably 3 feet in length. All right. So a mistake. Okay. So anyway, she goes, that the pharaoh who they say is in that name, in those hieroglyphs, is that guy right there. And she points to the pillar that's in front of me, and there's a cartouche. Eye level, I'm looking at the cartouche, not above, not below. It's not tiny. It's a cartouche that's probably a foot and a half tall with the pharaoh's name in it. And I'm looking at the cartouche. I'm looking up. I'm looking at the cartouche, looking up, and they ain't the same. They're not, you can't even squinty-eyed and kind of imagine, and see the no, I don't see it. I think I don't know what's in this image, Lee, but I think that it is what it is, and that it hasn't been altered or changed. I don't think it's anything modern. That whole section of the wall is clean and pristine. And this is just part of it. And there you go. It's now, here's the thing. Let me tell you what happened to me. I wasn't told where it was. Okay. I'm standing there with everybody else. I was just like, I'm here in Abydos. I wonder where that helicopter is. And I looked, boom. And my heart leaped out of my chest.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it and I'm like, damn, it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. And this is my picture right off of my cell phone. I took this picture. We've seen it so many times over the years. And when you see it in person, it's a game changer for sure. It is what it is.
The one, the item that you said, it looks like it could be a spaceship with like the tail in behind it. If you look at the center of it, off of it, it looks like there could be like 4 or 5 stairs possibly leading up to it or down from
right
it.
Here?
Yeah, you see that?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, little like they roll up at the airports.
And so before you even went to Egypt, Jimmy, was this one of the things you wanted to look at? Did you know about this and said, yes, this is on the list of what I want to see?
Yeah, certainly. There are hundreds of things that we want to go see in Egypt. And I didn't get to see everything, but this was high on the list. Yeah. And I honestly, seriously, I had such high expectations. But I also was talking about expectations. I was expecting somewhat of a letdown, like, oh, that's not the way. Oh, I always imagined it a little. No, man, it is boom. It's right there, and it's perfect. It's perfect.
What did your Egyptologist guide tell you what the current explanation is for what you're looking at here?
Yes, she did. Her name was Shah, and it went in one ear and out the other. I honestly, okay. I went back later on that night, and I jumped on the internet. I think we were on our ship at that point, and I was in my cabin, and I jumped on, and I went to go and just check this out for myself. Now that I've seen it. And I looked at the alterations, and I looked at the Orthodox explanation of this. Man, it's just BS. I use clean language on this show, but if I really wanted to say what I wanted to say, I think everybody would get my passion on this. It's nuts. See, here's the thing, though. Lee, and we were kind of talking about this earlier about, what did the ancients know, and how long has this contact been going on?
Right.
We all know about ancient astronaut theory and Eric von Daniken and the show Ancient Astronauts, and that's what it's called, right? What's that show called?
Ancient Aliens.
Ancient Astronauts.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sukalos. I didn't mean it like that. In that, when you have something like the Great Pyramid and the research behind it and how it could be done and things, it's a magnificent achievement. It really is. But when you go around Egypt and you see site after site after site that is so big, covering acres and acres and acres. You go to Karnak, you go to Kamambo, you go to these different sites, Dendera and the Temple of Isis on Philae Island, which takes up the entire island. Mm-hmm. Same amount of work went into all of these sites that went into the Great Pyramid. It's the same amount of time, the same amount of resources, but you have to ask yourself, so many thousands of years ago, it's the math and the engineering. Where did this information come from? I'm not saying that aliens built these sites, but there is a technical leap, a leap of technology that went into this that the rest of the world wasn't going through at that time. And it's you're a scholar, you're an educated man. So wrap your head around this. When these temple sites were being built, when Giza was being built, when those pyramids were being built, when the Sphinx was being built, these vast temple complexes throughout Saqqara in the middle of the desert, when all of that was going on, Greece, the center of democracy, right? Philosophy. That didn't happen for 3,000 more years. 3,000 years. Rome, before they built their first mud hut in Rome, the Egyptians were doing this 3,000 years before. So how did this knowledge come to them?
Right.
The engineering, the math, the idea. Where did it come from? I don't know. But I don't think it just bursted into somebody's mind one day. Let's build a 500-foot tall pyramid. No, let's don't build one. Let's build 20, right? And it was easy. They did it because it was easy. They knew how to do it, and they had the engineering, and the idea from it came from somewhere. And that I believe that we've been visited for a very long time. There's been knowledge and visions that have been shared with us.
And don't forget, as they were planning their monuments to the gods or to whoever, they probably also thought, you know what? And let's share this information that we have with our friends over in Central America. That's
100%. It's not just Egypt. Right? It's all over China. There's probably more bigger pyramids in China than there are in Egypt. And you had Central America, you had the Mayans. Look at the Temple of the Sun in Mexico City. It is tremendous and nearly identical in design, in size, in scope, in complexity. And is it a coincidence that these cultures had the same idea of design?
Right.
No, I'm not. Yeah.
So the story that I like to remind people about, I like to quote from things that have amazing information that wasn't just made up. And this is something that I came to have because in the middle of 1978, when I was preparing my United Nations presentation, And Alan Hynek, Dr. Hynek, was working with me very closely on this. We were at his office at Northwestern University, and we had already gathered a few documents, formally classified documents about UFOs in general. And I said to him, Alan, we've got a lot of good stuff here. We're going to put it all together in a packet. We're going to give it to every nation later this year at the UN. We're also going to have enough packets to go around to all members of the press who will be there at the press conference when we do this. So I have to ask you, you were the scientific consultant to Project Blue Book for more than 20 years. You were the guy who the Air Force would send to different locations, and it was your job to explain away things like what landed in Dexter, Michigan in 1966 or 67. And he would come up with something like, well, it could have been probably the result of swamp gas. And he never lived that kind of statement down. But he stuck with it because he also was able to get his hands on things because of his clearance, his security clearance ability. So I said to him, I've got to believe that in all the years that you spent working with the Air Force, having access to their files, that you had to get your fingers on something that I would consider a smoking gun.
And he said,
he walked over to one of his filing cabinets, opened the drawer, reached in, pulled out a manila envelope. And as he handed it to me, he said, I don't know if you would consider this a smoking gun, but if you like what's in this, I will give you permission. You can make a few copies of it, and we can hand it out at the United Nations later this year. Are you kidding? A few copies? I made a gazillion copies of this because once I saw what was in this envelope, I knew. I mean, it's not like I sat there and said, we don't have any internet yet. No, well, we didn't have any internet yet. How could I get this out to the masses and to the media? And he said I can make a lot of copies, and we did. And in this packet that we put together for the UN was a lengthy chapter from a book back in 1968 at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. One of the reading materials that was offered to Air Force cadets, those who are our future military leaders, it was a startling chapter in a textbook called Introductory Space Science, part of the Department of Physics for the United States Air Force. Chapter 33 was simply titled Unidentified Flying Objects. And it was not published material. It was only available to and for the eyes only of the cadets at the academy for them to read. And if you'd like, can I quote from a couple of the excerpts of what they said to the cadets?
Let's go. What are you wasting time for? Why do you have to ask? Let's go.
What we will do here is to present evidence that UFOs are a global phenomenon which may have persisted for many thousands of years. UFO sightings not only appear to extend back 47,000 years through time, but also are global in nature. One has the feeling that this phenomenon deserves some sort of valid scientific investigation. The most stimulating theory for us is that the UFOs are material objects which are either manned or remote controlled by beings who are alien to this planet. There is some evidence supporting this viewpoint. Why no contact? We may be the object of intensive sociological and psychological study. You do not contact a colony of ants, and humans may seem that way to any aliens. The available data leaves us with the unpleasant possibility of alien visitors to our planet, or at least of alien-controlled UFOs. What questionable data there are suggests the existence of at least 3 and maybe 4 different groups of aliens, possibly at different stages of development. It implies the existence of intelligent life on a majority of the planets in our solar system, or a surprisingly strong interest in Earth by members of other solar systems. End quote. And throughout this chapter, they cite example after example after example, going back into ancient Chinese stories of where humans saw things that were happening in the skies and had some kind of interaction with beings that were part of this. You see this stuff in the Bible. So to answer your earlier question is, where did all of these people get this kind of information? Well, if the Air Force was telling the cadets in this chapter that UFOs have been around for almost 50,000 years, well, that's kind of a partial answer to your question.
Yes, it is. And I've got 2 minutes before the break.
Yeah.
Let's pick that apart for a second. 47,000 years is strangely specifically.
They chose specific points of historic reference and stories that were in ancient Indian books of encounters and instances where people saw things or were in fact involved to some degree with the occupants. And the question is, why was the Air Force even alluding to this to their cadets in 1968? And is it just a coincidence that a few months later, in 1969, the Air Force decided to close Project Blue Book?
Yeah.
Wow, is that a coincidence?
No.
And then they took this chapter, they revised it, and then they put it back into the book for a while so that it didn't have a lot of the meat and guts of the original. And Alan Hynek gave me this chapter, and I remember I was reading it, and I said, Alan, how did you get this? And all that he would say to me was, you don't need to know the story behind it, but if you like this, we can give it away in a few months at the United Nations. And I couldn't find a copy machine fast enough to make so many copies, because then I didn't know that we were about to have this thing called the internet. I couldn't post it anywhere. There was no place to post. you know.
Really quick, I've got 60 seconds, so give me the Lee Spiegel abridged version of the answer. Why Grenada? Right? It wasn't the United Kingdom. It wasn't even Mexico, Brazil.
I don't need 60 seconds. In 1978, Grenada was the only game in town.
Right.
It was the only country that I could go to and see if they'd be interested in sponsoring my proposal, because their prime minister was making some headlines talking about how he wanted the United Nations to form an international study of UFOs. And I became friendly with his ambassadors, and then him, over a handshake deal, the proposal that I submitted became reality. But there was no other country that I could approach at that point.
Our guest tonight, the one and only Lee Spiegel. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We're going to continue this discussion after this short break. This is Fade to Black. It's Halloween month. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, VX.
The Believer is the chilling true story of Dr. John Mack, a renowned Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize winner.
This is an outreach program from the cosmos to the consciously impaired.
He risked it all to investigate human encounters with aliens. The Believer, Alien Encounters, Hard Science, and the Passion of John Mack. Written by award-winning former New York Times journalist and author Ralph Blumenthal. Now available in paperback from High Road Books.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Lee Spiegel is with us. Here's the thing with Lee. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer and UNX Networks. This is Fade to Black. Picking up, this is the thing about Lee. I can talk about whatever, right? And we're going to watch this. This is how we change gears. Oh, Lee. Oh, okay. You, because now you're the editor of UNX magazine. You've at the Huffington Post, what seems like forever. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget that day I got the phone call. Hey, Jimmy, this is Lee Spiegel of the Huffington Post. Can I get a quote from you? I'm like, dude, I've arrived. So, but here's the thing. Over the weekend and going into last week, but it kicked off today. NASA announces their formation of a study group into UFOs. And today, that group went to work. The study started this morning. They've got 16 intellectuals from all different aspects of I almost said intelligence, but very, very accredited individuals from everything from geography to even almost philosophy, right? All the way over to we've got an astronaut, and I'm glad they have Scott Kelly on this crew. And NASA's reputation inside of our community, right? Never a straight answer, and they've never been truthful with us about anything. Bill Nelson, who is the administrator, that's his technical title. He runs NASA, so we could call him the director, but for some reason he's got this title of administrator. Bill Nelson has had an extreme interest in this subject. Mm-hmm. What do you expect from this study? And there's I've got some other points that were revealed today about where they're getting their research from. But what do you expect from this NASA study?
I think it's a step in the right direction, because now it's our space agency that's taking an interest where for years they would never want to talk about UFOs, just like the SETI Institute doesn't like to talk about UFOs except in a negative way. And so now the space agency is now going to start looking into these things from a variety of angles with a variety of experts. The thing that I've been most impressed by recently, in addition to NASA making that announcement, is, boy, we are at a point now like never before. There was a time when if an airline pilot, for example, a commercial airline pilot or a military jet fighter pilot, had an encounter with something and they wanted to report it and they were not allowed to do that. Well, that's changing. That has just changed. And just in the last, few weeks, but even more specifically in major media news organizations are now reporting with pilots now describing encounters that they're having with lights in the sky that are doing really bizarre maneuvers. And just the other day, the Today Show did a whole piece on it, and CNN has just reported on it. There was one encounter that involved UFOs are now displaying themselves. They want to be seen, and so they're showing themselves to pilots, and they're doing circular maneuvers, like dots of light, and then they would stop, and then they would go in the other direction in a circular pattern. And one pilot had recently said that while they were watching this, they noticed that from above there was a meteor coming down, and it looked like it was going to go like straight through the group of a circular pattern UFOs. No, it wasn't a meteor. It stopped where the pattern was, and it joined the other ones to continue the pattern. We're like, whoa, what is this? This is something new, and the pilots are being allowed to say these things and to be very, very forceful and truthful. And you want to believe them because, we entrust our safety to these professionals. And so we're at a point now, historically, our space agency is going to look into it. But what is it that they're going to look into? But the pilots are now giving us things that are more immediate. This is what we just saw on our flight from, East Coast to West Coast. We can't deny that they're coming forward. And many of these pilots are former military jet fighter pilots as well. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I have a when I say a friend, this is somebody that I grew up with, right? Now, I'm not going to say his last name just out of respect, but his first name is Steve. And Steve and I played guitar when we were teenagers, right? Never had a band, but his brother was a drummer. And that's how long I've known him, all right? A very long time. He is now a full-on captain for one of the big carriers. He's a pilot. And when we were growing up, he was taking flying lessons. This is in high school. And that was his dream, right? So he went on to become a commercial pilot. Back when the Malibu underwater base story broke, and you remember that we did.
I do. Sure.
Work together on that.
Yep.
He calls me up and says, I just saw you on ABC News, and he said, I've got a plane. Let's go fly over the Malibu base. All right, so that's not the story. The story is this. So now him and I are in this private plane. We take off, and we're flying over the Pacific. And I go, dude, ever see a UFO? And he goes, yes. And I've never told the story on the air. And Steve, if you're listening, man, I'm not throwing you under the bus. I don't want to jeopardize your job. But now you can talk about these things. This is what he tells me, Lee. He says, I'm flying a commercial plane, and off to my left, I see a light. And I look, it's during the day. And he said, this is how he describes it. It's a white ball of light coming towards the aircraft really fast. And he said, as he starts to react, he's got a co-pilot. They're both watching it.
Yeah.
It was huge. And it passed underneath the nose of the aircraft and took off to the right and disappeared. I said, what? He goes, dude, I don't know what. I'm just telling you what happened. It was a white ball of light. It was a pin, and it just came straight at us. I thought it was going to hit us. Went underneath the nose of the aircraft. And I said, how big was it? He goes, when it got to us, it was just a ginormous white ball of light. Went underneath the aircraft and went that way. Now, this is not somebody on the Today Show. This is not, something I've read. This is a friend of mine talking about, somebody that I know and trust. He's also flying the plane that I'm in at that moment too, as well. and I didn't know how to process it. And he didn't have anything else for me on that. Except I said, did you see it on radar? He said, no, it wasn't on our radar. And I said, did you call it in? He goes, no, man.
Oh, okay.
And he said, actually, it happened so fast. We thought about calling it in, saying there's something flying around just in case. He said, but it wasn't on the radar. And we just let it go. Yeah. Maybe one day I'll get him on the air and he can share that story again.
And those are the stories that they're now feeling more comfortable talking about, because it's not just the encounter that the pilots have with these things. If you're flying a commercial aircraft, you've got passengers on board.
You do.
And there are going to be a number of people who will probably see the same thing and wondering, what the hell is happening? Are we safe up here? Won't the airlines want to say something to get the public to want to continue to fly the friendly skies? I mean,
right.
It's like, how does business industry handle that? Because can you imagine if the airline industry made some kind of an announcement? Well, folks, we just want you to know that in these times of uncertainty, many of our aircraft and pilots and crew and passengers are reporting encounters with things that are approaching our aircraft, and we don't know what these things are, but so far there have been there's been nothing that has been of a danger to anybody. But can you convince the public to not think that there might be danger for something like this? And you're scaring people by pretty much saying, please continue to fly, buy tickets, we want your business.
I fly so much. I fly nearly every weekend. Okay.
Yep.
All year long. I'm flying somewhere. And I have stuff that I'm doing. I'm working, I'm researching, and I don't even know how many flights I've taken in the last 12 months. I have no clue, but it's a lot. I am constantly looking out the window. I haven't seen anything. I am constantly, dude, I've got I've got video to go. Just in case.
I believe, probably my friend Mark D'Antonio, the astronomer.
I do.
Okay.
He's great.
Mark, he's really great. I had him on the show a couple of weeks ago. And I don't think he'll mind if I say this. We a few years ago, we were on our way to Roswell. We were both speaking there and sitting in the smaller plane. We all met in Denver, so we had to get on a smaller plane to fly to the local airport. So Mark and I were in a two-seater, and in front of us was David Marler, the great investigator, and his wife Kendra. And I couldn't really have a conversation with Mark because he spent the whole time with his face on the window, constantly, a camera in his hand, just always looking, hoping. And he admits it. He says he'll always prefer to get a window seat just in case.
I can't. I like to sometimes with an airplane. I'll fall asleep on the runway. It's my sleep time. That's my guaranteed. And so before the wheels are up, I'm out.
Yeah.
But when that nap time is over, 15 minutes, half hour later, when I wait, that's it, man. I'm out the window. I'm looking for anything. My camera is set to go.
Yeah.
I'm with Mark on this one. And I'm going to see something eventually. Now I want to you just made a very important point, and I'm not going to let this get away.
Okay.
You mentioned, SETI's negative approach to contact. There are two members of SETI on this NASA committee.
Is Seth Shostak one of them?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I think NASA knew better Yeah, I think NASA knew better. But 2 members of SETI. Now, does that mean that there is a change of habit with SETI? Are they going to approach this with an objective mindset? I don't know, but I was a little taken aback by that.
Keep in mind what the primary goal is of SETI is to find that cosmic needle in a haystack signal.
Sure.
Okay. Using radio telescopes or whatever means possible to get a signal that can be proven to be of extraterrestrial or as an intelligent source. And it might be a signal that just is basically reaching out from another solar system or wherever, just trying to make contact of their own outside of their own environment. And so if we were to find such a signal, how do we respond? And how long does that communication, what kind of a conversation can you have with someone where it could take many years for their signal to reach us, many years for us to devise a signal back to them, and vice versa? It's like, how much money are we going to spend? Because SETI relies so much on funding for what they do. And if all of a sudden their astronomers, their scientists start talking freely about UFOs that are being now displayed all over the news media, well, doesn't that somehow cause some friction with the mandate at SETI? I think it's a mandate. It's like, if you're going to be asked to be interviewed about what SETI is doing, make sure that the interviewers don't ask you about UFOs. I mean, I don't know this for sure that they do this, but it would seem likely that they would, because they don't want to get into any kind of a situation. Astronomer, astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, here's a guy, he's the people's astronomer now, and he does not like to talk about UFOs. Okay, he'll put the subject down. He'll say it's probably something that can be explained away, and yet a couple of weeks ago on the Late Show, he told Stephen Colbert, he said, you know what? We already know, we've already got confirmed 5,000 exoplanets that we know are out there in our little neighborhood here. Just 5,000 so far, which is not to say that any of them have any life on them, or whether any of them are in the Goldilocks zone where they could be possibly habitable. We're not saying that, just that little steps, 5,000 planets that we already know about. And part of the James Webb Space Telescope mission is to analyze some of the atmospheres around those planets that are around those suns. Astronomers are now telling us, we have to admit, there are probably several trillion galaxies surrounding us out there. And those galaxies have billions and maybe trillions of stars. Let's get rid of the word stars and call them what they are. They're suns. And that the majority of those suns probably have at least one planet orbiting them. The numbers are staggering, what they're telling us now. It's all about numbers now. So when anybody ever says to me, Lee, how can we decide that we're not alone in the universe? I say to people, you know what? Take a look at the recent pictures by the James Webb Space Telescope, and you tell me, when you're looking at the picture, you tell me that we're alone.
Yeah, there's going to be an announcement about TRAPPIST-4 here pretty soon. You heard it from me. Timestamp this show about intelligent life on TRAPPIST-4 from the James Webb. But here's the other part, swinging back to NASA.
Yes.
And I'll make this blanket statement about SETI. People can complain. They can do whatever they want. The alternative, which is doing nothing, is stupid. So SETI and what they're doing, we need to do it. We have to do it. They may not see anything. They might not hear anything. They might not. But the alternative is nothing. That's retarded.
Yeah.
So no, SETI. I'm fine with SETI. Seth Shostak, you can complain. Seth, just keep doing your thing, and maybe something will happen. But to that end, NASA is not, doesn't have exposure to classified data. They are only looking at, this is my understanding, this is what I had read today. They are only studying unclassified reports and data. And I feel a little strange about that. Here's the other part. Is this study group going to have access to NASA's data? Not the Air Force, not the Navy, not civilian, not the airplane pilots that that have been in the news over the past couple of weeks, which I love. But they are only going to have access to unclassified public reports. Kind of bummed me out.
Yeah, I totally feel the same way. It's like, if it's already unclassified, who cares? It's like, give us the meat and potatoes. Let them have some classified stuff and let them see and let them come up with their own opinions. But the unclassified, it's like, it's like I understand the concept of take little baby steps to find the information, but give them something to work with, to come up with a reasonable explanation of what we're dealing with here. Otherwise, why spend the time? Why put the time? Why spend the money and put the time into it if all you're going to come back is something that's just been kind of whitewashed because you just wanted to kind of, and see, my way of thinking is, how can we string the public along? How many more years can we not give them more of an essence of the truth? Is it because we don't know the truth? That's a possibility too. And
well, today, well, over the weekend, but it really started making the rounds today. Speaking about NASA, is Perseverance just took this picture of what appears to be something flying quite a distance away on Mars. And in Ingenuity, our helicopter that's up there, it wasn't that. This was a great distance away. 12 seconds later, it took another picture, and this object is gone. Now, this is NASA's data. This is Perseverance. What gives here? This is not okay. So that's unclassified. It's right. This is out in the public and making its rounds today. That was certainly interesting. What did you make of that image?
You know what? I haven't seen that image yet, and as soon as I'm done.
Oh, I'll pull it up.
I would love to see that because.
Do you think? I'll pull it up right now. Do you think that that there is a possibility? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That there is something else on Mars watching us that is not from this Earth.
And I shake my head this way because I've looked at a lot of the rover pictures coming back, not just from Perseverance, but from Curiosity over the last few years. They're taking pictures of stuff that just defy logic. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, you can see pictures there that almost certainly look like the aftermath of devastation of some planetary conflict. To my eyes,
I have always said that if I'm going around the desert and I'm starving, right?
Yeah,
I'm starving, and I'm going around the desert. And there's nothing, but I will be able to find something off in the distance that looks man-made. Hopefully there's water there, and I'm going to walk towards that. I don't see anything else, but maybe, that's what I see on Mars, right? Often I see stuff that doesn't look natural. And if I'm walking across the Martian surface and I'm out of oxygen, I need some water, I'm going to find something to walk towards. It's rather obvious.
Or if you have, like, in the back pocket, a little thing called the Ingenuity helicopter where you could send it out there and see what's there.
Okay, here is the shot.
Yeah, let's see.
This is Ben Hansen, by the way. We all love Ben.
We all love Ben.
Let me pull this out, and I'm going to pull this up. So this is from Ben Hansen's Twitter feed.
Okay.
So I'm sharing this, and here's the object right there.
Oh, I see it. I see it right away.
Yeah. And so let me see if I can. I don't think there's a way for me to make this bigger.
Oh, you can't zoom in on that? Huh.
No. Okay. So, but there it is. And then 12 seconds later, gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
All right. And I forget the distance on this. Let's back this up again. It looks like, it's fuzzy on this end. So it looks like it's moving in this direction. I don't know. I can, this is live radio and I don't want to blow the moment, but during the break, I will enhance this. But there it is. 12 seconds later.
I like that.
It's gone.
I'm going to call Ben and say, Ben, with all the equipment that you have for zooming in on something, what have you got on this?
Yeah. I'll blow it up during the break, everybody. We'll take a closer look. But again, if NASA is going to be doing a study, shouldn't they take a look at this too as well? It's not Earth's atmosphere.
Yes.
Certainly an atmosphere where there's supposed to be nothing. And that appears to be something. Now, could it be a space rock, a meteorite? Could it be something that is entering? Sure. It could be a lot of different things, but it's in the air. And the only other flying craft that I know of on Mars is Ingenuity, or a helicopter, and that is not Ingenuity.
And we have like a Mars long-range orbiter that orbits the whole planet, but it's much higher up, just mapping out Mars as it goes around the planet. Yeah, nothing like that just actually looks like, oh, well, what's that? That shouldn't be there. Yeah, like, tell us.
Yeah, it's incredible to me. Now, before the break, during the break, everybody, I will. I'm going to blow this up so we can take a closer look and have Lee see this a little bit more blown up. But before the break, and then we'll continue after the break, Lee. We were promised a lot of things this year from Washington, D.C. We were promised 2 new UFO reports, one that was going to be unclassified for the public, and another one 6 months later at the end of the year that was to be classified. We've still got a couple of months left for the classified, but we didn't get the unclassified public report, the update to the UAP task force. We just had, back in May, we had a congressional hearing with the subcommittee. The now, I'm going to say infamous is the correct definition and use of the word. The infamous UFO hearing. Do you think we'll get another hearing before the end of the year?
Oh, I doubt it.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so, because at the most recent hearing, when a couple of members of Congress were really sticking it to the military officials who were there, they wanted to know, basically, can you give us more information about the famous, real incursions of UFOs over our military bases, our nuclear bases? Nuclear installations, and these guys that were sitting there going, no, I haven't heard of anything like that. Have you? No, we'll have to look into this. It's like, what? Are you kidding? You answered it with that kind of we don't know about this. How could they not know? And that's like, it was so embarrassing that I'm hoping that the public realizes that the military is just saying, we don't know anything about all of the different UFO incursions over our nuclear sites. We don't know anything about that. We'll get back to you. Get back to us. This was going on decades ago. How could you not know about this? And try and just, it's BS to me. It's like, let's just continue to sweep it under the rug, and maybe the public will just go away and go about their daily business and their lives and not ask us any more questions. Well, I don't think that's going to happen, because it seems to be building up. Building up to what? I don't know, but I don't think we're that much closer to disclosure.
Yeah, it's to quote Richard Dolan, we can't put the toothpaste back in the tube right now. Not at this point. Let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, the one and only Lee Spiegel. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer and UNX networks, all leading up to a week from today, the 1-year anniversary of the UNX network. We're doing it on Halloween night from Fade to Black. Lee Spiegel will be back with us with Race Hobbs and Margie K. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back after this short break.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hello, Fadernauts. Jimmy Church here. You've seen me with my thunderstorm. Now you can purify the air in your home and get healthy, clean, fresh-smelling air and eliminate odors just like I do right here in the bunker. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm uses oxy technology that naturally sends out O3 molecules into the air, which seek out odors and air pollutants in your home and destroys them. It's called a thunderstorm because it purifies the air just like after a thunderstorm. And right now, you can save $200 on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. With this special offer, you're getting 3 units for under $200. Seriously. Go to EdenPureDeals.com and use Fader3. Shipping is free and it's easy. Just scroll down. You'll see my name right there, Jimmy Church. Click on it and get your deal today. That's EdenPureDeals.com.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. And I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can, right now, get your own free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, the X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie K. That's unxmedia.com.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
This is Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your Jimmy Church, heading into overtime with Lee Spiegel. Love it. Love it. The text going on between Lee and I during the commercial break, best ever. Better than the show. I found out Lee's had LASIK, but that's another. I'll save that for later. I just said your secret's safe with me. 2 seconds, threw you under the bus, just like that, man. That's it. Okay, so Lee, I've got the image now. So check this out.
Okay.
Here it is. This is full high res, right? Okay, so and there it is off in the distance, and it appears to me like it came out from behind this hill that's there. But let's zoom in on this baby.
Yeah.
Now, also, while it's back in this direction, it looks like there's some kind of, vapor, exhaust or something, from this distance. But it looks angled up, like it's flying in this direction. Okay, now let's zoom in. Let's see what we got here.
Oh, I like this.
Look at that, will you?
So I see. So, yeah.
All right.
It doesn't look like a photographic smudge to me.
It's not a bud. It's not a bud. And here, now, I'm going to say a couple of things. This is where you need Mark D'Antonio, right? You need a professional. But
yeah,
if we back this up, what is a pixel, right? Is that a pixel or is it square shaped? But you can see the debris and you can see how the pixels are breaking up, right?
Yeah.
This is bigger than a pixel.
Oh yeah, it's a solid object.
Yeah, that's bigger than a pixel, and the way that it turns into a blur, obviously it's moving in this direction.
Yeah.
But you can see the stair steps in here, so we're looking at some pixelization, but all of that kind of goes away with me when you see the blur at the back end of it.
Yeah.
But that's
even right there. I like that.
Yeah. Now let's say it's some natural phenomenon, right? Is it something that ejected a volcano? Did it
right.
something? I don't. What would eject naturally from the surface of Mars or Earth or any other planet? And create this. It's all entirely possible, but it disappeared. So it is definitely flying and moving because, the next frame, which is 12 seconds later, this object is gone. But
and not only the object is gone, but the residue of this exhaust is also gone completely too.
Yeah. Now you use the right word there, right? Exhaust. This is a black and white photograph. So if it was a white vapor, steam, something ejecting from, now this is where my limited scientific knowledge comes through. The atmosphere of Mars is very thin. You can enter and exit out of that it's not like Earth where things generate heat, there's friction, things get hot, and so forth. So a comet could enter our atmosphere, but a lot of it would burn up. So anything that is emitting gas, the outside of whatever would vaporize in the atmosphere. You wouldn't see a comet with a comet trail flying through Earth. It would burn up in the atmosphere. But the comet trail, would it be black? Right? That's interesting here. What could be ejected? Apparently, something is pushing this object up at this angle. So the color of the trail, this is a black and white shot. So this, I'm saying that's a black vapor trail or exhaust.
Yeah, and what it isn't, to my eyes, it's obviously not the Ingenuity helicopter. There's no way.
It's not, which is electric. That's solar powered.
Yeah.
Right. So, but that's bizarre, man. That's a tough one to explain away, even for Seth Shostak. That's
I want to know what Ben Henson thinks about this too. I'm going to ask him.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good thing going on Twitter about this. But yeah, give Ben a call. And also, I'm sure Mark D'Antonio has got something to say. They understand, Ben understands this, and so does Mark, about the resolution with pixels and what you see at a great distance and what is pixelized. But this isn't, a million miles away or 200,000 miles away. From my understanding, this is 5,000, about a mile. I think it's about a mile away. Sure. So that's still a pretty good resolution as far as pixels go. But D'Antonio would know, right? You're looking at the pixels around this. So is it the size of I don't know, man. That's a crazy picture.
I love it. I love the picture. Yeah.
I don't know what to make of it. I don't. Now, this is where I want to pick your brain a little bit more.
Okay.
You've been at this for a very long time. Suddenly, the area in and around Washington, D.C. wants to be our friend. Right? Now, it doesn't matter if it's a 5-sided building, or if it's the military, if it's an intelligence agency or two, or elected officials. And now we can even throw in alleged civilian organization like NASA, that everybody wants to be our friend and talk about this. What's going on here, Lee?
Well, they want to present the position that they're being transparent. Okay, everybody's talking about transparency. The big game changer for all of this happened with that New York Times December 2017 story co-written by Leslie Kean, where now all of a sudden the Pentagon was finally admitting that not only are UFOs real, which had been denied for so many decades, but that they're still studying them behind the scenes. Well, that was kind of against everything the Air Force told us when they stopped Project Blue Book in 1969. And so we've been told that, okay, we kind of apologize. We've been keeping this from the public, but we did it because we wanted to find out more about what's going on. We also realize it's not just an American phenomenon. This is happening in the skies all around the world, and we still need to know what's going on here. Now, have you noticed, Jimmy, that ever since that New York Times story, and since then, we've seen so far 3 military Navy videos. We all know the familiar the famous Tic Tac video now. And there have been other videos that have been sort of slowly leaked. But in all of this time, since 2017, I keep asking, where's the Air Force? We haven't heard a peep from the Air Force. And whose responsibility is it to monitor and protect our skies? Isn't it the Air Force? And it's almost as though they're saying, good, let the Navy deal with this now. We've had too much egg on our faces going all the way back to Roswell. Let's just leave it alone. The Navy's got a hold of it, and we'll just quietly sit back and watch how it evolves from this point. But I look at that and I say, wait a minute, the Air Force has to be part of this. The Navy, sure, they protect part of the skies, but isn't the water, the oceans, the jurisdiction of the Navy, especially for those USOs that we keep hearing a lot about, the underwater ones? So why is the Navy now suddenly picking up the mantle and saying, oh, okay, Air Force, you can sit back now, we've got you covered? But they don't have us covered. I mean, it's
right. And Chris Mellon,
yes,
wrote an op-ed 6 months ago or thereabouts, complaining and pointing out some certain not only the collection of technical data and sensor data and how it's done, but the logistics involved and what branches of the military are involved and how they're sharing data. And you read through this op-ed, and it's very interesting. And whatever you think about Chris Mellon, the op-ed stands on its own. And he makes a point about midway through, and I still can't believe I'm the only person that was concerned about this. But he says that there was a secure chat room set up inside of the Pentagon for the branches of the military to get together and talk about UAPs, right? A secure chat room. And there were members of all the branches of the military. They're all in there talking about what they've seen and data and so forth, including the Air Force.
Yeah.
The Air Force brass found out about this and sent a direct memo out to the Air Force that you are not to be a part of that chat room. And the Air Force backed off, and it was just, the Coast Guard, the Navy, the Marines, the Army. They're all in, everybody but the Air Force. Now, and directly to your point, it's the Air Force that has been silent, which Chris Mellon talked about, number one. But number two, they are the ones we need to hear from, and they feel that they are above instruction, right? That you can ask us whatever you want. We don't have to do anything. And when it comes to UFOs and UAPs, we're not talking, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
They feel empowered.
And yet this attitude, and it is an attitude, we're not talking about everyday motor vehicle traffic on a highway and who's in charge of that. I mean, we're talking about something that could and will eventually affect the entire planet if it already hasn't begun to, and it will affect how every person who lives on this planet thinks about these kinds of things. This is not another one of those, hey folks, we're going to have a lot of different study committees now about UAP, UFOs. We'll continue to get back to you. We'll give you periodic updates. But for the meantime, it doesn't look like we're in any kind of danger from this UAP thing, which is real. It's not fictitious. We'll keep you informed as we see fit. So please continue to go about your daily business, your daily lives, and we'll keep you in touch. That's how we are all being treated, and they think they're getting away with it, and they are to a degree. Mm-hmm. I don't see a big public uproar about this yet, a big grassroots movement about this. I don't see that, but maybe that's what's needed. And on the other hand, my attitude has changed a little bit about just how much do the nations of the world know. I mean, and another question I love to throw out is, who's in charge here? I mean, who's really, really in charge? There's that famous quote from President Bill Clinton that we actually used in our documentary, the Phenomenon, where it's been known that many United States presidents have made slight references to UFOs. Excuse me. Most of them have never really offered any kind of credible transparency about it all. But one of our commanders-in-chief, Bill Clinton, has hinted that when he was in office, he made some inquiries into possible UFO secret information, but nothing ever came from that effort. But in 2005, while he was in the middle of a speech in Hong Kong, someone in the audience asked about his interest in UFOs. And here's what he said. It's a short thing, but let me just quote from him. He said, "I did attempt to find out if there were any secret government documents that reveal things, and if there were, they were concealed from me too. I wouldn't be the first president that underlings have lied to or that career bureaucrats have waited out. But there may be some career person sitting around somewhere hiding these dark secrets, even from elected presidents. But if so, they successfully eluded me, and I'm almost embarrassed to tell you I did try to find out. End quote. Well, now, when Clinton said that he wouldn't be the first president that underlings have lied to, didn't that imply that UFO information is kept away from elected presidents? Or it suggests that presidents of the United States don't have a high enough security clearance or need to know. At the very least, I think Clinton's statement was a form of UFO disclosure, and I don't think any other president has offered that kind of opinion. And yet, you very often don't hear people quoting him of that. But he said it. He wasn't laughing about it. He was basically saying to me, I was elected president to manage the country. I didn't have a high enough clearance about UFOs. That's what he was saying to us.
Yeah, in the Wilson Davis document, Rear Admiral Wilson recounts to Eric Davis about his trip. I'm assuming it was to Lockheed Skunk Works, down the street from my home here in Palmdale. And he visits Skunk Works, and he meets with 3 people from there, the head of security. He meets with an attorney and an engineer, right? 3 people. And they tell him, and I very directly, this is a very heated exchange, according to Admiral Wilson, between himself and these 3 individuals that have invited him, by the way, to Skunk Works. And they tell him it's about aliens. He's trying to figure out this SAP program. Are they backwards engineered? He's trying to get answers. And they said, look, we've got a craft here, and we think it can fly. And that's what we're spending your money on. But you can complain all you want. You can yell. And I'm quoting here. They say to him, you can fly back to Washington, D.C. You can scream and yell to anybody that you want. We don't care. Right? And Wilson says to Davis, he goes, it was at that point I realized that this was, for me, I was J2 of the Joint Chiefs, right? That I realized that I was dealing with a level of secrecy that was above me. And there was nothing I could do about it.
Yeah.
And he says, you know what I did? I got on that plane. I flew back to Washington, D.C., and I'm yelling and screaming. And everybody told me, whatever. Right. And that goes back to exactly what Bill Clinton is talking about. Yeah, elected officials, they come and go. Right. Career military people, they've got their own agenda. And then outside of that, you have the private sector. You have corporations where there is no government documents that are going to be FOIA'd. There's nothing you can do about that. There's no document number assigned to an SAP program, backwards engineering alien craft. There's no paper trail for that.
Yeah, and so I'm left with the question, with the new NASA study that's coming out, more information coming out from the Pentagon, maybe another congressional committee, but in the end, who's in charge? And not just who's in charge here in America, who's in charge of all this information worldwide? That's the bigger question that needs to be approached, I think.
Yeah, and you're right about that. And to that end, it's not a surprise to me to have a subcommittee for Congress or the Senate Intelligence Committee where these, elected officials are going, what's going on here and how come we don't know about it?
Yeah.
Right? Well, there you go. They can go. You would think that Marco Rubio, head of the Intelligence Committee at the Senate, can go and get all the answers that he wants.
Right.
Well, apparently he can't.
Right.
And if he can't, a president that comes in for 4 years, 8 years, on a good term, is going to be opening up folders and being read into something that is possibly so secretive and so important that no, you're not going to know this information. And this is something that's been worked on for the last 70, 80 years.
Yeah.
It's going to be worked on for the next 70 and 80, way after you're gone.
Yeah.
There's no reason to bring him in or her.
It's frustrating because I don't think we're going to have any kind of the kind of disclosure that people would like. I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime because it's not meant to happen yet, because I also think that whoever's in charge have their own agenda and reasons for keeping this still out of the public's consciousness. And there's nothing that people like you and me can do about changing that. We don't have the ability or the power to change what is obviously an official policy that's been mandated, and it's been ongoing for decades, maybe longer than decades, going like all the way back to the original General Twining memo from 1947.
Yeah.
I mean, we people say, well, you know, how long has this been going on? Well, the Air Force told the cadets it's been going on for 47,000 years, but we know that in more recent times, we can channel it back to 1947 when a lot of this stuff began. And so it's still not being told. We're still not being told what's going on. And so sometimes I feel like really frustrated, like, well, what else can I do except to make some of these events more available to the public, let them know about more pilots that are coming forward, just to continue to bring forth more information until someone else takes over, you know, the ability to do something better than you and I can do at this point.
Yeah.
But I'm not in control. I don't have any power. I'm not the president. I don't even play one on television or radio. So I can only do what I can do and hope that it helps to at least get some people thinking about it a little bit more realistically. But I'm really glad to say that overall, I think the whole ridicule factor of UFOs has come way down.
Way down.
Yeah. And I'm happy about that.
Yeah. We're in the safe zone now, and I hope it continues. Lee, you've been fighting the good fight for decades. The community thanks you. I thank you. Another great conversation tonight. I will see you in 6 days.
Yeah.
For the anniversary, kicking off a week from today on Halloween night. Until then, be safe and continue to cause trouble.
Thank you, Jimmy. You too. Thanks.
You're the absolute very best. And with that, we just ran bumper to bumper, pole to pole with Lee Spiegel tonight. Thank you so much, Lee. He is the absolute very best. And with that, he just gave me the thumbs up. I feel better. I feel complete. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. And this broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Until tomorrow night for night 5 of Halloween week. This is Fade to Black. I want everybody to be safe. Go back, Lee Tappy.